Pierce Arrow was founded in 1865 as the Heinz, Pierce, and Munshiner Company, which started in a completely different business making household items such as refrigerators, iceboxes, but they were best known for their gilded bird cages. In 1872, or 1878, sources conflict. George N. Pierce would buy Heinz and Munshiner out of the company and rename the company to the George N. Pierce Company. Bicycles were added to the menu in 1888 in a form of children's tricycles. By 1895, 5 models of Queen tricycles were on offer with sizes ranging from 16 inches to 32 inches. In 1889, Pierce would offer a full line of adult bikes with hard-tired and cushion-tired safety bikes. In 1895, Pierce would drop everything in favor for bikes. The major difference with Pierce bikes versus everyone else's bikes, and the reason a lot of people thought highly of Pierce bikes during the late 1800s, was Pierce bikes offered shaft drive alongside the chain drive models. After failing in 1900 to build a steam car, Pierce would build their first automobile in 1901, the Motorette, which was powered by a single cylinder. It featured a 2-speed transmission with no reverse. Pierce Cycle Company was formed in 1907, separating the bicycle business from the automotive business. George Pierce would have a son named Percy Pierce, who was president of Pierce Cycle. Pierce would build their first motorcycle in 1909, the Pierce 4. The Pierce 4 was not only America's first 4-cylinder motorcycle, but it was also America's first shaft-driven motorcycle. Important to note that that was America's first 4-cylinder. The FN of Europe was the first 4-cylinder motorbike, which came out in 1904. Actually, upon further research, Everett Hart is the earliest 4-cylinder bike that I can find. Do you guys know of any other manufacturer that came before 1903 with a 4-cylinder motorcycle? This one also looks like it's shaft-driven as well, which is super interesting. Other 4-cylinder bikes that came after the Pierce Arrow 4 included, but not limited to, Henderson came in around 1912, Ace around 1920, Indian 1927. Getting back to the Pierce 4, it was produced from 1909 through 1914. Pierce engineers would get a hold of an FN motorcycle, reverse engineer it. They would come up with an all-new frame design that used a 3.5-inch diameter tubing. The frame was hollow and held gas as well as oil and wiring to keep the design looking clean and tidy. The inside was copper plated. The top tube and seat held 7 quarts of fuel, and the front down tube held 5 pints of oil. Percy and Pierce engineers reworked the FN engine as well. Percy ditched FN's overhead inlet and side exhaust valve setup for just a side valve design with T-shaped combustion chamber. The exhaust camshaft running alongside connected to the handlebar lever that allowed the camshaft to be moved, which enabled decompressing for easier starting. 696 cc inline 4. It could produce anywhere between 4 and 7 horsepower. It was capable of speeds of 60 miles per hour. It weighs 275 pounds. Price $350, which is equivalent to you spending $12,079.58 in the year 2024. Around 500 were made and cost way more to produce than they sold, which isn't the best business model. For the year of its inception, 1909, Pierce 4 only had a single speed. In 1910, 2-speed transmission as well as multi-disc clutch was available. Pierce would modify his bikes over time. The gear shift lever would start on the left, but in 1912 they would move it to the right. The front fork design was also improved, going from leading link front fork to a stouter design. Price went from $350 to $400, which still wasn't enough money to make a profit from the mostly hand-built bikes. Pierce would also offer this single, first appearing in 1910, and would offer it until 1914. Just like the 4, the frame was hollow and held gas and oil. The original Pierce single was 592cc displacement, single cam, side valve engine, magneto ignition. Final drive was by belt, unlike the 4, which was shaft driven. Pierce would make improvements to the single design that following year, with each valve getting its own camshaft. 592cc single cylinder, it was good for 5 horsepower. It was also good for 55 miles per hour, and it cost $250, which would be equivalent to you spending $8,264.97 the year 2024. You can only lose money for so long until you're out of money, and that's what happened in 1914. Pierce Cycle went bankrupt, and that was the end. But it's worth mentioning Pierce Aero Automobile would last until 1938, making luxury cars as well as luxury travel lodges. Alright, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have a 1912 Henderson 4 or 1912 Pierce Aero 4 or 1912 FN4? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1910 Indian single or 1910 Pierce Aero single or 1910 Excelsior single. Once again, gotta leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. Just thank you so much for watching this one. My voice wasn't 100% up to par. And until next time, toodle.